I want to welcome in the director at the American Institute for Economic Research's Sound Money Project, William Luther. Great to see you this morning, William. Thank you for joining me. So on Friday, the president said he was frustrated with the pace of negotiations with the EU on tariffs. What does this extension tell you about his willingness to try and strike a deal?
Well, I think there's no doubts that the president is trying to strike a deal. Otherwise, he would just impose the tariffs and move on. But instead, by delaying this, he's given them some more time to come to the negotiating table. Now, he has said that he's not looking for a negotiation, but I don't think that's actually true. I think that he would be happy to negotiate, provided that he feels like he's getting a good deal. That's going to be a bit harder with Europe than I think it has been with other countries, because a lot of the restrictions from Europe are not tariffs, but rather non-tariff barriers. They're incredible regulatory system, which makes it very difficult to sell U.S. goods there. So whether they'll be able to work that out or not is unclear, but certainly they have a bit more time now.
So I want to get into this as well. The president also pressuring Apple CEO Tim Cook to start making iPhones in the U.S. If not, Apple risks a tariff of at least 25%. Apple's already pledged to invest $500 billion right here in the U.S., but not necessarily to make iPhones. What do you think would happen to the iPhone market if Donald Trump imposes this 25% tariff? iPhones are not cheap to begin with.
Well, the good news, I guess, if you can call it that, is that the president has clarified that it would not be exclusively on iPhones. It would be on all smartphones. I say good news if you can call it that, because the ultimate effect of that is that Americans are going to be paying higher prices for iPhones or Samsungs or whatever phone that we're using. The response to the tariffs so far from Apple have been to rearrange their global supply chains. They are planning to ship most of their iPhones to the U.S. from India, and their iPads are currently being made in Vietnam. So largely moving from China to these other countries. But the president says he wants iPhones made in the U.S. Not entirely clear what that means. Is that just the final assembly of these devices? How deep do we have to go? It's, made in the USA becomes a very tricky thing when you have these global supply chains, because in fact, nothing is made anywhere. Instead, it's made everywhere. So again, another tricky problem here on the tariff front.
And also on Friday, the president announcing a partnership between U.S. Steel and Nippon that will let U.S. Steel keep its headquarters in Pittsburgh. And as you may know, Nippon has been trying to buy U.S. Steel. And although we're not sure if that sale will happen, will go through, investors took it as a positive sign, sharply pushing up shares of U.S. Steel. William, your thoughts on a potential deal and what we saw kind of play out on Friday?
Well, I think this is great. We don't really know what the terms of the deal are yet. But what we do know is that the arguments against an acquisition, a partnership, whatever you want to call it, that national defense argument just wasn't a very good argument. So long as we are producing that steel in the U.S., should we find ourselves in a situation where we're at odds with Japan, where we need to have domestic ownership of those capabilities? It's still in the U.S. We can just take it. Yeah. So that national defense argument never really held in this case. So glad to see that the president has okayed a deal here, and hopefully that'll go through. I think it'll be a big boon for steelworkers.
William Luther, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Appreciate it.